Hello, hello. All right. How's it going, everyone out there? I'm gonna jump right in and bring Mark on here. I see him waiting in the wings. All right.
Good evening.
Mark, all right, we can hear each other. We can see each other. Everything is just coming together. All right.
All right.
All right. How have you been?
Oh, doing pretty good. Today was a day off, but it wasn't a day off because I did housework.
Oh, don't get me started there. Yeah.
Yeah. So
new houses really get up the workload, you know.
Yeah. So I took on one project today, so I got that done. So.
Yeah.
So.
Well, all right. Yeah. So, okay. I am working through a couple things here. Let's see. I was finding this. All right. So, yeah, we'll just, first of all,
maybe to send her another link.
Yeah, I'm going to send another.
Okay.
I'll copy it and try again.
Okay.
Yeah. Dun, 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 dun. It's never as easy as it seems. That's for sure.
It's always a little snafu here or there. Get something to drink right back.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's see. We hopefully will be able to get Marcy on the line here as well. Yeah.
How's things out there in Wisconsin land?
Well, they're going okay. You know, going okay. Could be better, could be worse. You know.
No cold weather yet?
No cold weather yet. Yeah, actually, I've been looking. It's been, it's been warmer there than it was here. So
really, wow.
Yeah. So I'm thinking that that's about to stop pretty soon. But for now, we're doing all right. Yeah.
See the shoe drop on you.
Yeah. Oh, let's see here. Okay. We got an M. We may not have a video yet. Maybe we got an audio at least.
Yeah.
Can we hear you, Marcy?
Can you hear me?
Yeah. All right.
Okay, I don't know why I don't have video.
Well,
oh boy.
Can you hear
me? Hello, Miss Marcy.
Hi. I don't know why I don't have. Ooh, there's the echo. So sorry.
Oh.
Yeah, if you have it on somewhere, you might have to just mute the if you have it going on YouTube or something like that.
I have it on YouTube. There we go.
Yeah,
okay,
you might just
now it's good.
Yeah. All right. We'll figure out the
video
later if we have to. All right. I like how I can't figure out why there we go. I was off center there. I was off to the half of my face.
Yeah, you were frozen too.
Yeah. All right, so here we are, and I can tell right now that I'm going to have to turn this air off, and just a second. All right. Talk amongst yourselves.
What's going on, my Virginia Tech friend?
Oh, it's great. It's been very busy today.
Very
Very
busy
busy.
today?
I don't know why I don't have video. It says everyone can see and hear you, but that's clearly not the case.
Oh boy.
So
Yeah.
that's okay. I
That's all right.
guess.
Yeah.
It's
The
all
problems
right.
I had last time, I feel like you have to use Chrome. Any other browser
I'm on,
doesn't
yeah,
like
that's
that.
what I have. I
Yeah.
have Chrome.
You have Chrome? Okay.
I have
Other
Chrome, so
browsers,
I'm not sure
just go
why.
cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. It doesn't like it. So,
Oh, I see what the problem is.
are you
Hold
see what
on
the
just a
problem
second.
is?
I
All
think I
right.
see what the problem. There's the
Oh,
problem.
Oh,
I had the camera.
well,
I
there
had
you
the
go.
camera on. Yeah, there was an X across the camera. I just now figured that out.
right.
Okay.
Oh,
All right.
sometimes it takes a while.
Okay.
Yeah, it's
It
always a
might-
work in progress. Yes.
Always,
Yes.
always.
All
I figured it
right.
out though, finally.
All right.
I wish we all had some pink headphones. I think that would make
I
things a
know.
little better for
I
us.
can hear better. I
No,
can hear you all better, and I can hear my mother when she calls me. So
Well,
Yeah.
this is good.
Okay.
I was just going straight fashion statement. I wasn't thinking. I was going form over function. You know.
Yeah. I don't know.
There's a commentator on this. What is this? It was a show. It was a YouTube show called The Rising or something like that. It was these two. Anyway, it's a long story, but they had a commentator that I'm on who was this kind of like, I don't know, supposedly conservative but open kind of guy who's I don't know, Middle Eastern or something. But he always had big pink headphones on. It was an interesting look. We had to figure out
I'm
what he
on
was.
trend.
Yeah,
I'm on
maybe
trend.
he was watching you somewhere. You started it.
I'm on trend.
So Marcy, how are you doing?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm good.
Yeah, excellent.
I'm really,
Excellent.
really good.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. All right, so I have this. I got the document I sent you back in the background here if we need it to go kind of look through some things. But
Nope.
Oh,
Thank
yeah. Do I have my phone? Yeah.
But I
can
think
pull it up on my phone.
I think there's plenty of stuff to talk about. I never got around to. I only caught the very beginning of the thing that you sent, Mark.
Okay.
Talking about January 6th. What were you? What anything you want to bring up out of that?
Well, I mean,
Because I've
I guess-
seen some of the stuff on that before.
it was it's Christian. I'm a poor her. I guess her little podcast, whatever, and they had this guy who does analysis for different types of things, and he was just sharing that. I guess the picture we have of those folk who were storming the Capitol. I guess you look for the typical markers. The folks who are isolated by themselves, not married, younger. Have economic issues or challenges, and he was saying that at least 40% of those arrested did not fit none of those boxes.
Right.
Just the folks that were older, over 35. They were married with kids. I'm married with kids, and a lot of them had their own businesses or CEOs. They didn't fit none of those boxes.
Right.
So the question is, what are these folks so angry about?
Right.
And so what he was saying is that it's this whole replacement theory that's driven by fear. They feel that the rights of the marginalized are their rights are being overlooked for the marginalized rights.
Right. Right.
So it was like, I guess we're in this text today. We're maybe not so this text, but I'm thinking about the lost son, the other son, where he felt like his privileges were being overlooked, or like the rich guy here. It says he walked away sad, but I'm wondering, did he also walk away angry?
Right.
So, I guess the idea of privilege, the folks feel like they're so privileged that they feel like that their rights and their values is being superseded by other folks.
Right. Yeah. 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 I had read somewhere the whole thing about the number of small business owners in particular who were part of the group that came on January 6th.
Yeah.
So
that's a different light on that whole idea of being radicalized. People are like, how are they radicalized? And you're thinking, who are these folks? What are they being radicalized from? Small business owners, family people.
He was also saying that they don't mind the issue of violence. They believe that that a lot of this stuff can, in terms of their own position, can only be settled through violence.
Right.
And so me and a friend of mine, we were talking about this whole issue at lunch. And as you think about, because we're talking a little bit about economics tonight in this text, so we look at the inflation issues. I saw gas went up another 10 cents just today. And we look at like a lot of the commodities, cotton's up, oil's up, all these things up. You're gonna see those work their way down in terms of increased inflation. So as we see prices going up and folks upset about the economy, to me that's just another match to the fire.
Right.
If folks already feel like that that their privilege is being taken away, then you have economic pressures adding to that. You're looking at just more extreme things happening out there.
Right. Yeah. No, I think that's something to think about. I think in particularly in relation to this text.
Yeah.
I think the thing that's threatened for the landowner is his ability to continue exploiting people, right? Right. Jesus is saying, no. you can't continue to exploit people, and even more than that, you need to make some kind of reparative action for all of the defrauding and exploiting that you've done in the past. So not only do you need to stop exploiting people, but you need to actually, and I mean, that is the anxiety of a lot of these people, right? In a nutshell.
Right.
Because the whole part of the replacement thing is also this kind of like fear of retribution, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that it's almost like hilarious. I mean, even though it's like well-deserved, retribution, and we don't know what would happen if people who have been on the underside all of a sudden became fully really realizing being on the upper side. We don't know what would happen, but
did not something like that happen in South Africa following? I mean, was it somewhat? Yeah. And then a lot of the white landowners felt like they were being, their rights were being trampled because blacks started to gain some power.
Right. And I guess my concern is
in some small way.
I guess my concern is, there's always been the theory of genetic replacement, as we see America getting browner, and that's which also spins a light on this whole abortion thing. Is that folks need to have babies if they're not going to be genetically replaced. So that's what spins on another light on this whole abortion thing.
Right.
So you already have the genetic fear of being replaced. Now you have this economic issue. So I mean, that's just a double whammy.
Right. But the strange, and this gets back to what we talked about last week. The strange thing is that, again, these small business owners, a lot of them imagine that they are, the future, Google CEOs, the future Bezos, the future. They imagine that, they own 2 restaurants in some podunk town in Texas, but they imagine, and so the economic squeeze that they feel, they don't recognize that it's actually coming from the people that they idolize.
Right.
Right. I mean, like they don't realize it's being caused. Yeah. And so instead of recognizing that they actually could benefit from actually joining and pooling resources with the people underneath them, they instead have a fear and anxiety about not being able to exploit those people as much or as well as the people they idolize. Like they're upset because they have not gotten themselves with enough wealth and capital to exploit the same people as well as all these other people do. So it's kind of because I think this is the trouble with American politics, right? I mean, a big problem is you have all these people who identify as Republican, and they just choose to dislike and antagonize the people below them while giving all of their taxes and money and resources to the people like way above them.
Right.
And the people way above them
don't care about them either.
Don't care about them
they
either.
Don't care, man.
And they're the ones that put the limit on any kind of like redistribution stopping at their door. Whenever we hear about these, any kind of democratic policy that's going to increase taxes, it doesn't actually take it from the people way up the line. It does actually take it from these small business owners. So they have a right to be upset. But the problem is that we could get as much revenue from, 1/8 of these people up the line that we take from these other people.
Right. We talked about last week how, companies like Amazon for the past at least 2 years have paid zero federal income taxes despite having 10, 15, or was it $20 billion worth of profits.
Right.
So,
and instead, and these people who are, storming the Capitol, they look on that with envy. They wish that they had the lawyers in order to do that, instead of realizing that like that tax money could actually like put all of your employees in a place where you could pay them what you're paying them now, and they would have health insurance, and they would have all this stuff, and they would be happy to work for you. It's not, they don't realize the how they're turning to face the people above them with the anger that they face the people below them, how much that would, and I guess to some degree, they kind of recognize this in this kind of like anti-elite rhetoric, but for some reason it doesn't land home, it doesn't, because they think that Trump is one of them, somehow.
And that's the amazing thing to me. No, go ahead, Mark. Go ahead, Marcy.
No, I think for me, it just comes down to it's racial identity is where everything falls to that.
Right.
I think Martin Luther King said the same thing, and how he talked to the jailers and tried to get them to understand they have more in common with, Black people, and they just couldn't get it. That they were, it was more advantageous for them to align with him and the policies that he was trying to promote. But they can't see it. It's racial identities.
Right.
Is everything.
This is why I struggle with just looking at picking out. I don't mean to pick on this state. Pick on West Virginia. West Virginia is one of the poorest economic states out there. Yet you have a senator like Joe Manchin fighting against the Buy Back Better plan, whatever they call it. That his state would benefit tremendously from that plan. But it seems to me that I guess the argument is, I'd rather be a poor white person and not have nothing than to be part of quote unquote socialism.
Yeah.
It's just amazing.
No, well, good. Yeah. Well, anyway, if just kind of if you just tuned in out there, we are actually talking about Mark. we might have, you might be hard to trace the threads, but they're there. But I think maybe to get back to what I found interesting that relates a lot to this discussion and what was fascinating in this text, looking back at the commentaries and stuff, is that when the man asks how to gain eternal life, right? Yeah. Which is, of course, a whole other discussion that needs to be had about what that, but one thing I did find, I can't remember who it was that was saying this, but was basically saying, like, the only people that ask about eternal life are the people who already have enough that they're not asking about how they get actual bread or how they get actual
right.
How do I get healed? How do I get this? How do it's people who but anyway, but then Jesus quotes back to him the 6 social elements of the 10 commandments. So the 6 kind of they call the horizontal focused part of the 10 commandments, but then switches out do not defraud, for do not covet. And so, and many people saying that this would have been like the direct indictment of someone like this landowner, right? I mean, like, this would have been if there was a label that the people who worked for this person had given to him, this would have been the label, and so again, like the other part of the text, the idea of Jesus looking and gazing at this person, and then at the disciples and at the crowd again, but like that idea of Jesus perceives in the guy's demeanor, in his dress, or in his whatever he sees, right away he identifies, hey, this guy has everything that he has because he is exploiting people, and names it right there. Right.
Yeah.
Right there. And which is interesting because anyway.
Well, I was thinking, we don't ever talk about the other scriptures in the lectionary, but the Hebrew scripture that goes along with this from last week talks about the word of God being, this sharper two-edged sword that cuts, and the word and he perceives and can see straight to the heart. And that's what this is. That's what he's absolutely doing. So yeah.
And actually with that word, you can imagine that word being spoken, and the guy automatically cringing at that, but still saying that he followed them. I mean, that's the interesting part too, because he still says that he's followed those since his whatever he said, since he was a young person or whatever. I can't remember exactly his wording.
And then Jesus pushes me even further.
Let's see if I find that. I lost it again. Yeah. Yeah, let me see this. Yeah, I'll show this. I'll just show these couple quotes since I actually saved it somewhere. Let's see, what is that?
Oh yeah.
What is that?
Up on my phone. Which one?
Yeah. So I mean, the wonder which ways. I wonder if that's it. No, that didn't help any. All right. Anyway.
I was thinking that as we looking at Mark, and certainly Mark's depiction of what Jesus' ministry was, and discipleship was, it's certainly the exact opposite of what we see today, particularly extremes of like a Joel Osteen.
Yeah.
I mean, Joel Osteen wouldn't fit into this concept of ministry.
Well, I mean, and I think it's pretty standard, even if people don't admit it, to believe that. Where is it at? I think, did I have it?
Where are you?
Oh, it says health here instead of, so like at this point, let's see.
Are you talking about the Ched Meyer quote?
Yeah, right here, the man's wealth.
Okay.
I was trying to find in the text, he actually says somewhere, that basically, oh no, it's down here when they're talking with the disciples, right? So the idea here that the dominant ideology was, wealth equals blessing from God.
Right. Yeah, I saw that too.
I think obviously Joel Osteen and like prosperity gospel is a kind of a more blatant example of that. But I think a lot of people in most churches feel that way, And I mean, and it's difficult because obviously part of the thing is, right, that we have to admit that anything that we have is a blessing from God, right? So, like, yes, whatever you have, it's a blessing from God. So like it's not that wealth is not a blessing from God. I think it's the equation of I have wealth, so therefore I'm doing something right in God's eyes, and God is rewarding me with this,
Exactly. Yeah.
And I think a lot of people, if they never say it out loud, that's their understanding underneath, And I think a lot of people look at other people that way as well. I don't know.
Yeah.
One of the commentaries I read talked about that in some cultures, there's just this wealth confers upon you some kind of identity that you're a good person.
Right.
That the two come together when that's not always the case, but that wealth for some people it's a blessing, but it also means that you're a good person. And how that those two often get mixed up when they can't always be linked like that.
It's interesting nowadays too, right? Like for us in America, because we have all these reality shows that kind of like show us that these people like are like just basically just miserable people. Like, and the whole point of the reality show is to show us how miserable they are, and how petty and how, all this stuff. But for some reason, like, well, I guess part of it is, right, that a lot of, I'm thinking here of like all the housewives shows, right? Like of whatever place and location, multiple examples of that. But it's those are kind of interesting though, because, right, like in most of them, some of them are women who were like child actresses or somehow, have, but a lot of them, it's the husbands who have made the money.
NBA wives comes to mind.
Like, and so it's kind of interesting. Like you don't really see what they're doing. Like you don't see like where the money comes from. Like you see like the people living in it. And, so like at least there's not this. I don't know. There's not this like mythology that these people are somehow good. It's being exposed to us all the time that they are no better or worse, than anyone else. But it's still like there's still. But part of the fascination, right, is kind of like the idolizing of it or the fetishizing of it. Because I think,
you can watch it and always say to yourself, if I had that kind of money, I would never behave that way.
Right.
If I had that money, I would give to the poor. I would do all this stuff. And you kind of really deceive yourself. I think it's easy to do that.
Right.
Oh, I would never act like that. It's like,
and maybe it's like a tricky thing. Like it's like a double feint. Like, like, okay, well, I believe that only good people become wealthy. Mm-hmm. But now I see that these people, like whatever. So that means that I must be able to get wealthy, because I can be better than them. I don't know. I don't know if it's like some deep psychology going on in people's minds. I don't know if that's how far it goes, but yeah, I mean, I think there's I don't know. There's something really interesting about that dynamic and why.
I guess it's just like what Plato believed in a republic, in the concept of philosopher king, that the more educated which should be the rulers, because the more educated you are, the more moral you're supposed to be.
Mm-hmm.
So it's almost like that type of equivalence.
Right. Yeah. But this is just like, well, and I think that what we do is we confer wisdom on people who have wealth, just like we confer goodness on them. Like, well, they. I mean, the guy who, started Starbucks can write a book, and we all think that somehow we read it, we're going to gain some kind of like profound insight, And I think what's interesting about what Jesus does in this text, right, is that it's basically just a straight out, it's just a straight statement that, like, if you are this wealthy, you can only have that much wealth by exploiting people at some point along the line.
Yeah.
There's people have been exploited, period. So you need to reckon with that before you call yourself good. I mean, I think that's maybe something that we all can wrestle with, to a certain degree, no matter what we have, because I mean, I was thinking about that in terms of, I mean, we talked about this last week a little bit. I mean, the people who gained wealth off of enslaving people, right? Mm-hmm. Many of them, as George Jackson said in the 70s or whatever, many of them, if you look up their names, are the ones who are owning, who are are sitting around the board tables right now. Mm-hmm. Of their families are the ones sitting around the tables somewhere right now, and like that, they have that capital by exploiting those people. Like that. That's plain and simple, and the companies that did business with those people and so on and so forth. So, I mean, and this is, I'm sure this is before Marx said it, but it's, Marx said it most clearly, right? That the accumulation of capital at some point goes back to exploitation. Like it just doesn't come from anywhere else. It's somewhere back along the line. When you got that capital, someone was suffering for it.
Somewhere along the line, you had to be cutthroat. You had to do some cutthroat stuff. Yeah, somewhere along the line.
Right.
Yeah. You had to do some cutthroat stuff.
Blood was spilled.
Yeah. Right.
All that, somewhere along the line, that capital is blood money, And I think, and I think that's the difficult thing for us is that we participate in that.
Yeah.
And we're forced to participate in it.
Yeah.
Like I can turn these lights on right now because, some indigenous people somewhere are like, getting kicked off of some pipeline.
It's also pitched that if you don't participate, then somehow you are a defective person.
Right.
Because if I'm that the folks on the street who are homeless, whatever, there's something wrong with them people.
Right.
It's not that it's not that the system has somehow that they're victims of a system which is demean them, but somehow something's wrong. Something wrong with this guy on the street who's begging on the corner.
Right.
Something wrong. Well,
they're criminals.
Yeah.
Right. They're made criminals.
Yeah.
And not only do we think there's something wrong in their head, we make sure that we have laws that make sure that everyone knows.
Yeah.
that they're criminals,
Yeah, and we have these signs at the intersection, the major intersections where you typically see folks asking for money. And it's like this big neon sign, look at them, do not give them, it really just, it makes them like a target almost. Right. The way they have these signs, there are services for these people. Don't give, and I can only imagine what, that just.
Right.
My mom's always like, you can't tell me what to do with my money. Roll down the window, Marcy. I roll down the window.
Yeah, that's it's fascinating to think of the people who decided that was how they wanted to spend their money, like on, for some department of,
human
transportation
services
somewhere.
Department of Human Services, probably.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, that's and I think that's, well, and again, we're saying it kind of like it makes sense, like what Jesus is saying makes sense, but I think by the disciples' reaction and, by just history, like this is not something easy for people to think about what to do with, I was thinking about what you said about something wrong with them, by not participating. We see this on a larger scale, right? With places like Cuba or Venezuela. If these places decide that they don't want to participate in the capitalist system overall, or the world, like whatever, then their choice to do that has to be basically considered insane, wrong,
vilified,
and really all it is. That's all it is a decision to say, no, we don't believe that particular system
works for us,
is the right way to go, and
and I was going back thinking about what's happening now in terms of this whole supply chain issue and the worker shortage. A lot of the people think that the reason why most people think that, the reason why people are not working because it's the extra unemployment benefit, but usually it's not. It's daycare. It's also that a lot of employers are still not offering decent benefit packages. Like I saw a story that 2/3 of those folk who work in minimum wage jobs don't have sick time, pay sick leave. So that's the problem.
And they're not creating safe conditions to come back to work.
There's no safety net for these folks.
Right. Well, in basic physical safety, where folks are finally saying, I'm not dying for this job. And so,
Well, and also
all I hear is how lazy they are. They don't want to work. I think some of them are finally waking up to a system, as we've been talking about, that exploits them, and they've decided they're not going to go along with it anymore. And I'll wait an hour for service. Whatever. But people, it's good. People are starting to catch on, which is
No, I think that's. And also, I think a lot of older people imagine that when you go back to a job, you keep that job for 7, 10, 15, 20 years or whatever. So like, why won't you, how long do you think this is going to hold out, this extra stuff? Why don't you need to go back? But that's not how jobs work anymore. Especially these jobs we're talking about. You go back to a restaurant job, you could be out of a job in 6 months, 3 months.
Right.
Yeah.
Especially if the COVID keeps bouncing around. Until you see, but even if it's not, even in the best case scenario, you could still, and they might not call you for 2 weeks straight, tell you not to show up, and so then you're off your unemployment benefits, but you're not on getting money either, I know that a lot of people that I talk to who are, come out of that generation of long-term employment, people still get pensions, people still,
get a job, get your watch, and your.
That's still. But that's those people are still like they're in their like 70s and 80s. Yeah. It's been a long time. It's crazy. That's what's crazy. It's crazy to me how long it takes people to kind of realize, because we talk about deindustrialization like it happened, like in the 90s or something like that. The industrialization has been happening since I was born. It started, in the 70s, in this, so these things, the changes have been happening, but we haven't been aware that they've been going on. And the people who are aware are the actual people that, that everybody thinks are ignorant and lazy.
Mm-hmm.
They know what's happening because like they have to actually read what's happening in order to eat. They have to discern what's happening to feed their children. We can just like, decide to watch the news or not, because we're probably going to eat either way. But and I think that this is what someone describes this little talk that Jesus is giving, that we looked at over the last few weeks as kind of like a covenant renewal. The idea of, because he mentions all the laws, it mentions family traditions, it mentions marriage, it mentions all these things, and it's kind of like Jesus going through the old covenant and renewing it and shaping it a different way for the community that's about to be formed. Mark's gospel. And part of what's being said here is that, look, like we can't count on the wealthy people to redistribute their wealth just because we ask them nicely to and tell them that it's the right thing to do according to God. That's not going to happen. We are going to have to come together and, be the community, be the aid, be the people for each other.
And we have to be different than the society, because we think about that time, and you had I was thinking about how Roman society was structured. You had a lot of wealthy landowners, but we got to be different than that society, in the culture.
Right.
Yeah. So it's almost counterculture.
Yeah, for sure.
For sure.
And it's and it's saying, in a way, I think what may be important for a lot of people that are our age or younger to hear is that the path of exploiting people to gain wealth in order to own a lot of stuff and then pretend like you're doing good by trying to follow some of the moral code or whatever, or the behaviors that people say are the don't kill, don't whatever. That's not good enough. That's not going to get you to the place where you are following what Jesus is asking you to do. And I think I think that's, like you were saying, Marcy, like part of what people watching those housewife shows are like, well, if also implying when, I get rich, off my efforts, I would be generous and give and all of these things, and in reality, again, the money, what it takes for you to get the money that you have the extra to give away that makes a difference is already exploiting so many people, that whatever you're giving is not making up.
So in that light, I'm thinking about a Bill Gates, who people don't even talk about him anymore. It's all Bezos but I think about what his money is doing, in terms of eradicating disease. So there is that element of, but just in listening to what you're saying, for him to get that money, there were moments when he was being, as Mark said, cutthroat and making and decisions that were against the rights of the people. And so now we see him in this light, and he's all the stuff he's eradicating polio, all the stuff he's doing. It looks great, but it's still not enough. It's not being enough.
He's trying to pay.
You got it. You got it.
You
got it. Yeah.
And we know that you need all those minerals and all those things to go into all those computers you're building. We know that you're taking them out of the place where you're supposedly, you're taking whatever the price of silicone is, you're taking that out of the country and then bringing back a 50-cent polio vaccine. You know what I mean? Somewhere along the line, And then, I mean, of course,
there's a disconnect. Yeah.
There's all the questions about like the methodology. I mean, there's all the questions about, well, I mean, there's a lot of questions about what Bill Gates is doing, even on his philanthropic side.
Right.
I mean, especially when the vaccine stuff hit, like some of the things he was saying was like, okay, brother, you need to pump brakes.
Right.
But that's the other side of it too, right? Like people, this is the problem we're in with, I mean, the whole way that we bring aid to people, right? Is that it goes through nonprofits that have to beg for money from all these people who get all their money from exploiting the same people that we're begging them, on behalf of, so that we can help them. And they're giving us, 1% of their accumulated wealth in order to, I mean, when in reality, if they would have actually just given their workers,
more money, right?
Like their workers could actually, have done okay for themselves. All along.
Yep. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm just going to look back over here at
over your notes.
Yeah. Oh, I did like the way that someone somewhere, let's see, was talking about how this text gives an example of the third seed in the sower parable, which kind of comes from multiple places. You can read the whole gospel kind of through this parable in a way. And it's verse 18 says, and others are those sown among the thorns. These are the ones who hear the word, but the cares of the world and the lure of wealth and the desire for other things come in and choke the word, and it yields nothing.
And and how about at the end, where is it Peter that says, "Oh, we did all that. We left everything for you." And he tells them, and you're gonna get tenfold, houses and mothers and sisters and brothers, and don't forget the persecutions. Don't forget that.
Don't forget that part.
Don't forget that, the persecutions. So
I mean, I think that's interesting too, because I think there's a sense that what's being said is that, I mean, like if you think of Acts, like the early chapters of Acts, like if you do come together in this community, you bring together your possessions, you share everything, you try to provide for everyone's need. Like, yes, if you have a community of 20 people, you've gone from having one house to having 20. You've gone from having one thing to having 20.
Right.
But that also comes along with the fact that the people on top don't like what you're doing. So you're going to get that, but you're also going to get persecution. I mean that.
I guess one of my concerns is just coming from looking at the Baptist church. It would seem like churches could be more effective in terms of ministry if we can get folks to put aside their ego and let's have a joint vision of what it means to do ministry for a community. I just give an example. I used to belong to First Baptist Church of South Richmond, 15th of Decatur. You had another big church right up the street, 20th Decatur, Zion Baptist. And I just always envisioned what would happen if the pastor of First Baptist and the pastor of Zion Baptist came together and said, what kind of ministry could we do if we thought about how can we minister to this Decatur area together? So we're talking about pooling resources.
Right.
We're talking about pooling resources for doing ministry. especially as you deal with that area of Southside, which is still very much a struggling area socially and economically.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, yeah, I think, yeah, we talk about it. This kind of the conversation comes back around to that sort of thing every time that we have conversations at the church I'm at now is how there used to be, what did they call it? They used to call it I think they used to call it like the downtown parish.
Okay.
And the different churches that were downtown tried to think of themselves as ministering in one parish together. You know, I don't know how long ago that was, but that was like it's one of those things that when you start talking about something, say, well, we used to, I mean, which is a really good idea. Of course, part of the problem in some urban areas is that some of those churches have gone. so the people ministering in the urban parish are not in the urban parish anymore. Yeah. They've checked out to go somewhere else.
Right.
But, yeah. Well, yeah. Yeah. Well, this is always good. Always good.
Stuff, yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, we kind of skipped the next little part of the text that's going to be this Sunday's lectionary, to do these verses again. But, we move from this economic focus here to the same issue, basically from a political lens, with James and John,
right,
asking to be on the right and the left,
right.
and Jesus saying, the other rulers that you might be familiar with, yes, they lord it over people. They practice these same practices of oppression and exploitation. But that's not, that's not what I came to do, and that's not what I'm asking you to. Yeah. So.
And I got an email today from the Christian Century. They do this Sunday's Coming lectionary thing.
Yeah.
And the title was, and that word ransom.
Oh, yeah.
And that word ransom, what exactly is that about?
Yeah.
So, good stuff.
Yeah.
Are we going to do that one next week, or are we going to do Bartimaeus?
That's a good question. Yeah. I think maybe we might have to skip that word ransom.
Yeah. Talk about Bartimaeus.
Yeah.
My favorite. Yeah.
Is that the text you're preaching from this Sunday?
I am preaching again. I'm preaching in
the quilt.
Yeah, I'm
still in the quilt.
Yeah. So, well, I'll have to remember to send you a little snippet or something.
Well, I'm gonna watch it. I'm gonna listen to it on my way to Richmond tomorrow.
Yeah.
I can get it on YouTube.
Yeah. This was so we did this past Sunday we did the log cabin. And we talked about kind of being a light to the nations and that sort of thing. The idea, the old Motel 6 line, we'll leave the light on for you. That kind of thing. Yeah. And then this week is this week I think is the pattern is called shoe fly, which is which was supposed to represent a person who actually, if you could identify this person, they were probably like a free person who was part of the Underground Railroad, who knew, different ways to get around and could direct you. Okay. So this, and so we'll talk about, being a guide for people, being willing to, so I think, I can't remember I think we're in 1 Corinthians somewhere, but I can't remember now. I'm going to have to figure that out real quick because it's coming up.
It's coming up.
It's coming right up. Yeah.
Okay.
And actually this Sunday too is, there's a member of the congregation who turns 100 on the 19th. So we're having a little, birthday celebration kind of during worship too. So,
okay.
Yeah. And after,
Nice.
Yeah, 100 is a big deal.
Yeah.
It is. Wow.
Yeah. So I think No, I think I'm off lectionary. I'm probably off lectionary all the way until we start.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
Because we go to stewardship.
Yeah.
Beginning at the end of October.
Right.
And then, by the time that's over, you're pretty much in Advent.
Advent season, yeah.
Yeah. So.
Mercy.
Yes. So we'll have to see what Luke.
So are you going to publicly commit to doing this through Luke, all of Luke next year?
Well, I guess it depends on, who's available to assist and help. That's the bigger question.
Big question.
That's the bigger. I wish what we could do is convince Willie Jennings to go back and do Luke like he did Acts.
That
would seal the deal right there.
Wow.
Yeah.
I think he wrote some of the connections pieces for Luke, if I remember correctly.
I haven't. I need to order those for.
I think he did. There's a collection of commentaries called Connections that walks through the liturgy, the liturgical text. It looks like that. But it has two different sets of commentary. One, connections to the rest of the text, I think, or maybe the other text in the lecture order. Then the other one
all of the text in the lecture. Yeah.
Connections to to society now, or connections to today. So it kind of like gives these two different angles on each of the lectionary texts. So
Jennings is attached to this.
I think he did. I think I remember seeing him doing some of the sections of Luke.
Okay.
Yeah. So I might have to go back and see how many he did in there, because it's definitely worth looking at his stuff if he has any comment whatsoever on on that, Or maybe we got to find a way to sneak Acts into.
Yeah. Luke Acts. That's right.
Yeah. So anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean, especially if I know that the couple of Sundays that I preached on lectionary, like, this is really helpful to do the text before. You know what I mean? To do the text before Sunday and sit around and hash it out and think about how it connects to, to going forward and that sort of thing, connects to the wider world, that sort of thing. It's very helpful.
Yeah.
All right.
Bartimaeus next week?
Let's do Bartimaeus. I wish,
That's Mark. What's that? Mark what?
10:46 through 52.
Yeah.
46 through 52.
Yeah.
Chapter 10.
Man, I tell you,
I wrote my exegetical paper on it. So
me too.
I'll print it out and bring it. Yeah.
This is going to be rich.
And Dr.
I'm gonna print it. It probably doesn't hold up, but I'll bring it and see what I said at the time. I don't. Yeah.
No.
You know what happened to me is that my last year of seminary, my computer died. The hard drive fried. So I only have like a few things that I took the last semester of seminary. Everything else is gone. I might have some hard copies somewhere, but I do remember writing that paper for Dr. Blunt.
Wow.
Yeah. And being really nervous about it.
I imagine. Yeah.
But anyway, that's a good. That's what we'll do, and hopefully, I'll actually get back to not taking 2 weeks to actually prepare about the text. Yeah.
All right.
All right. Well, good seeing you all. Yeah.
Good to see you.
Yeah. Good seeing everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Oh, that's how I do it.